And now I would like to introduce Dr. Jochen Schweitzer. Jochen is Senior Lecturer of Strategy at the UTS Business School and co-founder of ULab, a multidisciplinary innovation hub. Jochen.
Welcome, everyone. I would like to share 3 stories and 1 experiment with you tonight. Here's my first story. This is my friend David. David is a serial entrepreneur from Vancouver. He loves to build companies. He enjoys coming up with new business ideas, developing a plan, finding venture capital, and working with other people who are actually equally enthusiastic about these ideas. But this story is not so much about David's businesses. It's more about the attitude that he has building them. On our at a recent dinner conversation, David and I talked about the differences between an entrepreneur and being an employee. David said that he pretty much dreads the moment when he starts employing people for his ventures. He employs business graduates usually because they have the skills to execute his strategies. But what he finds is that often business school graduates are lacking the ability to develop strategies. He says, employees are for running the business, not for inventing or reinventing the business. Entrepreneurs like him, who invent businesses, often don't even enjoy running them. So obviously, we need both. We need entrepreneurs and we need employees. And David knows that too. Now, when I ask my students about their professional plans, I usually hear from 70% of them that they are looking for some job at a corporate organization in Australia. About 10% are planning to join a family business, and another 10% usually don't really know what to do with their degree. So that leaves us with about 10% who are likely to maybe start up their own business. I think business schools should focus a lot more on producing entrepreneurs. I think we need to grow the number of people who want to be entrepreneurs. We need to encourage young people in our schools, colleges, and universities to reinvent, explore, and challenge the status quo. Without people who invent businesses, there's nothing to do for people who run them. We need to provide students with opportunities to test their own ideas. My second story. My second story is about professional practice. It starts with my dad. I know I look like my dad. My dad is an engineer turned business owner. And like many of us, I followed into my father's footsteps. I became an engineer myself. My first job was there. My first was in the automobile industry. I worked for a company that was building steering systems like these, and in those years I learned a lot about design, high-quality standards, and technological possibilities. I then worked for a language school and a cultural institute as a program coordinator. I learned about cultures, I learned about providing a service, and I learned a lot about dealing with people. Then I worked for a company that builds cars. For this car, for example, I was involved in planning the tools that were used to produce the doors. I really like the doors of this car. I learned about the economics of production and that resources are not just materials, machines, and designs. Resources are far and foremost the humans that make everything run smoothly. That's when I got interested in the human factor. I moved on to management consulting. The management of change was my bread and butter for many years. I learned about the motivations, the fears, the ambitions, and the attitude that people would have towards change. I then turned to better understand customers. I helped creating strategies to meet customer needs and user expectations, and I also helped to surprise them with new products and services. Now I work for a university, and I study the role of collaboration, creativity, and leadership for strategic innovation. So, to be honest, for a very long time, I felt I have been all over the place with what I was doing. My professional interest and professional practices were pretty much all over the place, and my CV reads like a menu of, a bit of everything, really. I'm sure that many of you feel the same way. So let me suggest this. I think it's okay. Don't worry about it. I think it's good, and in fact, I think it's essential to bring a mix of all sorts of professional practices and experience to the table when it comes to innovation. In my experience, many efforts to innovate are held back by too homogeneous groups of people. A colorful CV is okay, it's not a bad thing. We need to embrace diversity to enable collaborative creativity. Every experience counts. Here's my third story. My third story is about a group of people from UTS who went to Innovation Land. Over the last 18 months, we had many encounters with people who do very interesting work in the field of innovation and entrepreneurship around the world. We talked to people in Australia, the US, Europe, and Asia. We went to experience some of the energy of places like the Silicon Valley, Berlin, and other hotspots or hothouses of entrepreneurship. We connected to the Sydney entrepreneurial community, and we learned about the rise of social enterprises, co-working spaces, business incubators, and many other initiatives that would seek to propel innovation in their communities, cities, and in their countries. We even met David Kelly from IDEO. We spent some time at D-School at Stanford University and their sister organization in Berlin. Apart from all the motivation and the good advice that we received from all these wonderful people, one of the key insights from all these encounters for me personally was that we need to use a common language for innovation, a common language of innovation. And I think this language already exists. We have it. In architecture, engineering, design, and other professions, the professional practices for creating innovation have been used for many years. And that's, I guess, exactly what Kees was referring to earlier as well. As a language, it might not be as logical as mathematics, and definitely not as precise and clear as German would be. But I think the design language, the professional practices of the creative professions can help us innovate and invent businesses in Australia too. You can call it creativity, groupthink, design thinking, integrative thinking, lateral thinking, and so on. I don't think it matters so much how we call it. What matters is that the practices that are here already and that we need to start using them a bit more. We need to create this common language. Now this leads me to the last part of my talk. It leads me to the experiment. Our experiment at UTS started with this key to a warehouse. The School of Architecture allowed us to use their space for one semester. So for spring semester last year, we started what we call the ULab. The ULab is our pilot of collaborative creativity at UTS. At ULab, we think that innovation is a product of optimistic and opportunistic interactions and serendipitous encounters. We believe that innovation occurs between people. We seek to expand the capacity of design practice into collaboration between entrepreneurs, corporates, academia, and the public. We look for radical cross-boundary thinking and doing. How do we do this? We designed a space that would allow us to bring people together in a playful and open way. Space is important. And from what we had seen, we wanted it to feel a bit like a workshop, where you can quickly grab a few things and build something. A place that is not pristine but functional, and a place where you can easily swap from thinking mode to doing mode and back. We think innovation is an open process. The process of design thinking guides us, but we keep it in the back of our mind and we don't follow it too rigidly. We encourage deep understanding that comes from observation, and culture is important. We seek to create an open, honest culture without fear of sharing thoughts and ideas. We think creative people are curious, humble, and lifelong learners. Creativity feeds on knowledge, so every experience counts. We look for different lenses, different patterns, which we can only achieve by bringing in very different people from very different backgrounds. We practice fast iteration because it accelerates learning and it makes for better outcomes. Fail fast, fail forward. We practice prototyping because it provides you with quick feedback. It helps developing ideas and common understanding, and it helps to define the problem. Sharing is key of our approach at ULab. We share ideas, we share food, we share with customers and users, and we share with the public. Let me finish with a quote from a recent article in the Sydney Morning Herald by Josie Gibson. In this article, she talks about the importance of being innovative for Australia. She talks about changing attitude towards risk, embracing opportunities, and she goes on to say, changing behavior is a complex, long-term proposition. It's about doing and trying, not just talking. This very much reflects the journey that we have started as a group within UTS. Thank you very much.